I'm a huge fan of hip hop and like, from all decades, and I can pinpoint and recognize a sample or remember a moment or a phrase. Like, when they be like, oh, Rihanna, and I'd be like, no, that's Maria Maria, right? No disrespect, because she did a great version of that. But like, especially with the drill songs and everything. But I like to look at history and I see it repeat itself. So what I want to talk about is Jay-Z and Drake and Nas and Kendrick Lamar. When you look at the history of it, it's literally like history repeat itself. The conscious rapper versus the, more, chill vibe rapper would drop gems here and there, but, their message was completely different. They didn't really make music together. I think Nas and Jay-Z, they might have had a song together. I can't really remember, but I think Kendrick and Drake had like 4 songs together, but they really kept self-distance. They had almost the same amount of run. I think Kendrick and Drake had the same run where Nas had like maybe 3 or 4 years on Jay-Z. But if you remember the beef, and trust me, I know my stuff. He dropped Blueprint, took his shot at him. The beef went off. People that were Jay-Z fans went over to Nas, or people always said, oh, this is why, blah, blah, blah. Jay-Z still remained relevant, but his response wasn't well received after he responded. Same thing with Kendrick. Like, Drake, they loved the Drake, what he said real quick, but they didn't respond well to his last response or whatever. So I compared that to Super Ugly. So the funny thing is, after the beef, Jay-Z made an R&B album with R. Kelly, just how Drake made an R&B album with Party Next Door. I just found that interesting and similar. Also, they both were claiming Jay-Z and Drake, like, womanizer, all this stuff like that. It's the same kind of thing. Like, it was like the conscious rapper, and it was like, who's really representing the culture. And I thought that was different. Nas and Kendrick was always talking about Africa. I thought it was super interesting, and I forgot how hard Stillmatic was. I was like, yo, and I was a Jay-Z fan. You couldn't tell me nothing about Jay-Z, but that Stillmatic album was a classic. And it was just like, also, Jay-Z was talking about how Nas is not consistent. He became more consistent after the beef. Drake was talking about how Kendrick wasn't more consistent. He became consistent with the beef. You know what I'm saying? Like, even with Jay-Z talking, basically felt like he had the club records, Nas started making club records. Same thing with Drake, with Kendrick. Like, it's just so interesting in the history of rap and how it repeated itself. And I don't think it was on purpose. I think it happened organically. I feel like 2 people just dislike each other from great point of views, and they both great music, but they just couldn't get together. So I thought it was just interesting in comparison.